So it's fair to say this year, a lot of high profile content creators have been exposed for doing like pretty gross stuff all around. And of course, today the focus is going to be on Dr. Disrespect. But I also want to talk a little bit about, ImAllexx and even like Vaush in the past. And the point of the video is more to talk about the fans and why people will go to certain lengths to defend people when if it was anyone else, they'd have no problem with saying what they did was creepy, gross, illegal, whatever. What conditions people to do that? And I really want to get into that today, just as a lesson to people that they shouldn't do this. The amount of defense I've seen for Dr. Disrespect from his fans, or just like trying to cling on to any hope he hasn't done something really bad, is just like blowing my mind. Like they're even going as far to say, well, if the person he texted was 17 and a half, that's actually not too bad compared to if they were like 13 or something. Like that distinction to them now apparently is a massive difference between if they like him anymore or don't. Even though this was a 35-year-old man at the time with a wife and a kid, cheating on his wife and then messaging a minor using Twitch's like whispers feature, right? Apparently that's not enough to not like this guy because, as we've spoke about many times on this channel, you've heard it a lot, parasocial relationships. And I'm just going to dive straight into this one. I'll skip the bits about promoting my channel on Patreon, but yeah, you know the drill. Go check out the social medias, support me on Patreon if you want. And on that note, because I'm talking about content creators, let's talk about myself. So, how much do you actually know about me, viewer? You might be someone, and it's likely you've never seen any of my content, so you know absolutely nothing about me. You might have been subscribed for a month, you might have been subscribed for 6 months, you might have been subscribed for 5 years, you might have been a subscriber on Patreon for 2 years, we might have spoke in Instagram DMs, we might have spoke on Discord Messenger or something like that, right? And that's a relationship a lot of people will have with content creators. You support the content creator, you might give them money because you like their work, and you might actually have some sort of personal interaction with them. And as someone who likes to message on particularly Instagram DMs, I feel like I have a pretty good relationship with a fair few of my followers. And I guess because we've had personal conversations, you'd feel like you even know me really well. And that's the danger, isn't it? That's the parasocial relationship at work. But you can have this without having any personal relationship. Now, I'd ask people like who've been subscribed for a significant amount of time, like how much do you actually like know about me? How old am I? What's my name? What's my favorite TV show? What's my favorite music? Like what do I care about most in the world? What do I care about in terms of politics? What do I care about in terms of history? Do I have a big family? Do I have a lot of friends? What's my national background? What's my religious background? What am I like as a person? Am I a funny person? Am I a nice person? Am I an empathetic person? Am I pleasant to just everyday people? And that's something that, even though a lot of you might think you know me, you would probably not be able to answer a lot of those questions. And it's the same about a lot of your favorite streamers. And I think streaming is even worse because you think you're getting a very personal insight into this person because they're talking so much shit for like 8 hours a day, right? And they're talking so much shit about so many different things. So you think from that you can kind of ascertain, is this a nice person? And it's also you're having a one-way friendship with that person. You know everything about them. You might obsess about, little things they like, and you might feel like your lifestyles are compatible and you would actually be friends in real life. And that's obviously good for creators in some regards, because not only will you financially support them, but as we're going to talk about today, you will defend them and support them no matter what they do. Now, I can't really delve into the psychology of why people attach themselves so hard to various creators. I mean, for me personally, I've never found it hard to drop things I like if the person behind it is shitty, especially if it's something like, I don't know, political commentary or social commentary if you've done something that I don't like. I get it can be harder with things like musicians. We've all probably have a musician we like who actually is a pretty terrible person. It seems to be so common. But I guess with that, you have the art and the artist. The same with like books written by shitty people. Like I've just nearly finished Doom Messiah. you know, I know Frank Herbert was a massive, massive homophobe, which is actually evident, especially in the first Dune book. At the same time, because it is just like this grander thing and it's art, I can recognize that while appreciating the good things. And a lot of people try and use this argument when content creators do bad things, whether it be John Tron or Dr Disrespect. Well, the art and the artist is separate. But I would say it's kind of different with social media content because so much of that person's character, their social media character, is created like by them and has a lot of their input and is a reflection of them in some ways. Now, I'm not going to say the Kavernacle is a true reflection of me as a person. And I wouldn't say if you watch my videos, you know me that well. At the same time, I would say that a lot of people would say the stuff I say on this channel is unsurprising if they know me in real life. And it's pretty consistent with me as a person. There just might be some version of a character in this. And I'm not saying I do that on purpose, but I am talking in a way I wouldn't talk to average person because I'm presenting a video on YouTube. And also I'm selective with what I cover as well. So you're not going to see me cover every single thing. But by and large, I would say the Kavernacle is pretty much completely tied to me and my personal values and personal politics. So if it came out that I was a terrible person for whatever reason, could be something like just treating people horribly, or it could be something like a lot more serious, I would say you can't remove the Kavernacle, and especially in regards to streamers who plan their content far less than I plan mine and are far less selective. You cannot say you can separate Dr Disrespect, even though he is playing like this character, from the guy himself, the same way you can't do that with most streamers. As we're talking about today, you just shouldn't go and defend these people like you know them, for whatever reason. Because at the end of the day, they would never do that for you because you're just some random person to them and they have no attachment to you. So why do you go out of your way to defend them for pretty much indefensible stuff? So let's talk about the recent stuff that's been going on with just like general content creators. So ImAllexx is a pretty clear-cut case because here was a guy who was very abusive to one of his old girlfriends. She comes out with like literally all the receipts, videos of him on phone calls saying terrible shit, text messages. There is no basically debating this guy was a horribly abusive boyfriend, right? And obviously popular YouTuber around for a long time. You didn't really see anyone go out of their way to defend him because the evidence was so overwhelming. There was just so much of it, right? So that's one case where people's parasocial relationships with ImAllexx, or even like, you know, commercial collaborations because he worked with other people on YouTube, no one defended him. Part of it was there was no way you could twist the evidence in any way to make it look like he had any standing in that. So now let's talk about like the Vaush drama that happened this year as well. So I haven't checked my analytics, but before this all started, I know a lot of my own audience watched Vaush. Don't really know why they watch both of us. I don't think we're that similar. I just want to kind of show you, it doesn't really matter about the politics of the people. Like Dr Disrespect is like more conservative, has a lot of conservative fans, right? Vaush presents himself as a left-wing person, has left-wing fans. And I don't need to remind most people what happened is he was streaming himself and opened a folder of pictures he had saved. And yeah, there was some really gross shit, which I saw circulating on Twitter. And a normal person's reaction would be to see that, and if they're even aware of him, they know he's had loads of controversy with just talking about this kind of shit for years. And if you put that together, to most normal people, you'd be like, yeah, at the very least, this guy is a massive creep, which is pretty much what I said about it. And people were going insane about this. People were saying I was basically playing into some like right-wing narrative, demonizing the LGBT community as predators, for saying that, yeah, a guy talks about this stuff and saves pictures to his private folders of very suspect stuff is a creep. And that is actually the reaction of most people. And if you weren't terminally online and had an insane parasocial relationship with this guy, there is no way you'd defend him. There is no way you'd defend someone who did that you didn't have any attachment to. And I guess, you know, most people could say, well, the people defending him, they're all into that stuff as well. And they all agree with him. Like, they're actually the same as him. And I guess you could say that. And I don't know what percentage of his audience or his fans who stuck with him would actually be like that. But then we have to go beyond that to think that there is a significant amount of people, could be the majority, I'm not sure, that actually, if it was anyone else, would say it's bad. So why do they not say it's bad in this instance? And I think the best visualization of how this looked like to a normal person, and not saying this guy is particularly normal, but I watched Ethan Klein and his crew watching this and like reacting to it. And why I think that was helpful is that that's how like most normal people would react to this. Just be like, this is really gross, right? This guy is really, really creepy and focuses way too much on this stuff, right? That's how most people would. And if you explained it to anyone in your own life, guarantee they wouldn't go out of their way to defend the person and try and get into the weeds of, oh, he was just trying to make this argument. Oh, he was just trying to say this thing. And in terms of making YouTube a viable career forever, you probably want a fan base who will defend you no matter what you do. And you can basically convince them, go defend me from all this terrible shit I've done or said or whatever, no matter who I am, and I can keep having a career off you. Now, I remember watching a YouTube video from someone called, I think, President Sunday. I think that's what they were called. And they were like a Vaush fan. And they were basically talking about how, you know, I was a fan. I've seen all this stuff. I've seen the other stuff about like, you know, sexual harassment and everything. And just don't defend this guy because he doesn't care about you.
I didn't believe he was that person. So I waited for Vaush to say something else, something that would fix it. I don't know what I was hoping Vaush would say. I guess I really was just hoping for some explanation. And even when he gave one, and it was completely unconvincing, I still waited. And some people, when faced with something awful, wait, like me, hoping for an explanation that will make things make sense in a way that makes the awful situation go away. There was a moment in Ethan's second stream on the Vaush leak where Ethan pointed out that
if you're friends with someone in real life and you have history and you have rapport, and if something comes up that's really, concerning, you would talk to your friend, right? But these are not my friends. These are people online that I know.
Right.
Something clicked in my head when I heard this. Like this line was directed at me. Obviously it wasn't, but it kind of felt like it. You see, I realized that I wanted to give Vaush a few days. And it's really hard to watch someone who has come to matter to you, whose well-being you've come to care about, turn into something that disgusts you. I realized I was thinking of Vaush as a friend, when in reality we had only talked a couple times. I was emotionally invested. During the H3 stream, and even my own watching it, Vaush's community were there defending him. For the same reason I was waiting. Vaush is a friend. Vaush isn't a friend. He's not your friend or my friend. He's someone we've watched, talked about, maybe talked to once or twice, but I don't know him. And you probably don't either. This is a guy who makes money doing a performance. And I honestly feel so sorry for all the people who are reflexively defending him now. But the thing about parasocial relationships is that it's extremely hard to tell you're in one from the inside. And the embarrassing truth that I've come to realize is that even though I haven't defended Vaush, my reluctance to condemn him for what everyone can see he has obviously done is absolutely due to that same parasociality, which you never realize is there when you're the one in it. I was giving him the kind of generosity you would give to a friend.
And that's what gets to my point as well, is like people reactively start defending their favorite creators because they don't feel like they can do anything wrong. And because they've developed this parasocial relationship with them, they feel like it's a friend. They feel like maybe it's someone even closer than a friend. And also they have a whole community around this guy, or with Dr Disrespect's case as well, around him as well. So if you admit that this person is bad in any way, you're basically potentially outcasting yourself from that community that you enjoy so much, and you're admitting to yourself as well that you are a bad judge of character, and you're admitting basically something is wrong with you for having such an attachment to someone like this. So I think there's a lot of layers that go into people trying to distance themselves from someone they might watch like 4 hours over that every single day. And I've experienced it with the fans of many other streamers. Like me and Hassan are like cool and stuff, but because I made a few videos criticizing him in the past, people go absolutely insane about that, when they were honestly the most mild, good faith criticism I've ever gave of another creator. So I understand that reflex to defend people no matter what. And I hope on this channel, I haven't conditioned anyone to do that for me, because I wouldn't want you to do that. Like, this channel is me. These are my opinions. If you like them, that's good. And even right now in this video, I know a lot of people get mad I even brought up the Vaush stuff, but that's just my opinion. If you don't like it, you can go. I don't care if you watch my videos or not. Like, I don't know anything about you. You leaving a comment right now saying I'll never watch you again, it means nothing to me. And that is how most content creators feel about viewers who, I don't know, are outraged, because most of you I don't have any relationship with. I don't know you. You haven't commented on this channel a lot. I wouldn't even recognize you popping up. And unless we message significantly on some other platform, like, I really, really wouldn't care. And that's why I like the President Sunday video, because he outlined that in terms of Vaush. Like, most creators don't care about their audience on a personal level. Like, we care about the audience. And like, I'm grateful to my audience, like this collective that keeps changing, for supporting me. And I'm more grateful, of course, to people on Patreon. But again, I don't know anything about you. And I don't know how many of you are left from when I started. I don't know how many of you filter out. You know, I lose subs every single day. I just gain more subs. I don't know who stayed around all this time. And it's better for me to not get invested in you guys, because then that relationship hinges on, do you like what I say still? And I don't want to have a relationship like that. I'd rather have a relationship with, you know, my real friends, where it's not based on stuff to do with politics. So although it can seem insane when you're getting like legions of people like actually arguing with you that you're wrong to think what Vaush showed in his stream was like, you know, creepy or something like that, you have to try and get into the mindset of these people of why they will do that no matter what. Like, sure, lots of people will be very suspect. Lots of people defending Dr. Disrespect will be very suspect, and probably don't hate what he did and think it's immorally okay. But also we have to admit that a lot of people will also just be coping, basically, with their community and their favourite streamer not being who they wanted them to be. Now, let's move on to Dr. Disrespect, because I think this is another good example. So Vaush was like a more left-wing example. Dr. Disrespect has a lot of conservative fans. And a lot of conservatives, anti-SJW types, were jumping out of the woodwork to defend him straight away. Now, if I guess you're not on Twitter or don't follow tech news or whatever, you might not know what happened with Dr. Disrespect. Basically, he had his Twitch contract terminated 4 years ago. No one ever knew why. He said he didn't know why, and then he said, I plan to go on the offensive. It's pretty clear Twitch made a settlement with him where no one would basically talk about what happened, and maybe NDAs were signed and they paid out his contract, right? And then recently someone tweeted about why this happened, and this is just all blown up again, culminating in basically Dr. Disrespect admitting to it, which is absolutely crazy, after putting out statements which seemed like just like written by a lawyer. So on Twitter, he had a long statement. Basically, this is what it said. He admitted to having mutual conversations with a minor that leaned too much in the direction of being inappropriate. And he started editing the word minor out and in, also saying nothing illegal happened, no pictures were shared, no crimes were committed, I never met the individual, I went through a lengthy arbitration regarding a civil dispute with Twitch, and that case was resolved by a settlement. But trust me when I say this, to all my haters that live and breathe social media with zero life experience, I don't give a fuck about you. They want me to disappear. Yeah, fucking right. Now, recently, like literally today before I recorded, Rolling Stone released an article that basically confirmed every single thing and said a former Twitch trust and safety employee who worked for the platform at the time that Dr. Disrespect was banned and has direct knowledge of the matter confirmed to Rolling Stone that he continued to send sexually graphic messages to a minor he knew to be underage. This anonymous employee also said that crucial elements of his tweet are inaccurate, going on to say, I recall that Dr. Disrespect was made aware by the individual that they were underage during the conversation, after which he indicated that this was no problem and continued on. There was no confusion. Messages sent after this were acknowledged with no less graphic and in sexually explicit nature than before, and I think more than the categorization of leaning too much in the direction of being inappropriate might indicate. It also goes on to say once they were made aware of the messages, they banned him really quick, and basically YouTube didn't offer him a streaming contract because they'd heard that he was banned for this. So there's not really much ambiguity over what this guy did. Obviously people already knew he cheated on his wife in the same year he did this. So yeah, all round seems like a pretty like terrible guy. And it was clear from the first few tweets that he tweeted and other people tweeted that it was likely that he did it. And people were just going absolutely insane about it. And his audience, of course, didn't want to accept it. But a lot of people have been defending him. So on the Hassan subreddit, someone screenshotted a bunch of comments. So latest comments under Dr Disrespect videos. I'd rather see the logs first. Words like inappropriate could be one thing or another, like telling a 15-year-old to die, for example. Did you know that statistically that 17 is visually inseparable to 18? Did you know that men of all age groups from 18 to 80 find women between the ages of 18 to 23 the most attractive? Now use the law of transitivity to come to your own conclusion on whether he is a PDF file. Yeah, check this guy's hard drive as well. As a father of a 17-year-old girl, the things I've seen in messages, and I've seen really bad stuff, makes this a non-issue. And if the conversation were consensual, then it's a slap in the face to everyone that had to deal with real text abuse. Father of 3 daughters, and I'm inclined to agree, assuming it was only flirty messaging. 17 is that line that's rough to call, especially in a world that's being forced onto our kids. This seems timid by comparison. So it makes me think she was like some juicy 17-year-old that was game and not some 12-year-old. So the comments I've already showed you, they verge more on, it's not bad, because I would like to do that too. And you're always going to get that stuff as well, because people don't have any morals. I think there is a word for 35-year-old millionaire streamers with a lot of power, sexting underage women. Is there a word for that the conservative community like to use? So those are the people who are obviously conservatives, and we all know, probably libertarians, they love this shit. They see nothing wrong with doing this with a 16 or 17-year-old. But I want to talk more about the people just kind of trying to cope with it. Someone talking about like Dr Disrespect being dead to them, and this is more like a healthy mindset towards this stuff. As someone who's been a fan off and on since before the ban, this genuinely turns my stomach. I'm a similar age he was when he did this, and I have 2 teenage daughters. The idea that someone like him could use his platform to do that is actually one of my worst fears for my daughters, even if his shitty lean too much in the direction of inappropriate excuses is gross. To call him anything other than a predator is wrong. There are 3 people I feel sorry for in all of this: the person it happened to, his wife, and his daughter. And the people defending him, I'm not sure if they are doing it for the meme, but it's just sad. Why do people keep saying the victim was 17? OP says that's my bad. I think I've just seen so many people saying this. Someone replying, so just curious here, because from what I read online, why are you acting like he was the one who slid into her DMs? Do you think Doc wasn't entertaining probably hundreds of different conversations with chicks around the time? You say I have 2 teenage daughters. So if your 17-year-old teenage daughters were sliding into adult men's DMs and then either lying or not being upfront about their age, would you still be upset? I'd be more annoyed at my kids at that point, but if she told him and he continued, now we have a different ballgame. If he did what everyone claims he did, then I will agree with what everyone is saying. But we really don't know what happened, what was said, what borderline inappropriate means. Put it this way, if he did do something illegal, he'd be in cuffs right now. Not the way it works. If he attempted to do something illegal, he would still be in cuffs. No one knows what actually happened, and everyone is just jumping on the bandwagon right now. Let the air clear, let the truth come out, and then make an educated decision based on the fact. Don't just agree with everyone else, regardless of what side you fall on. This is what social media does. It twists and skews the truth into something else to garner attention. I'm not saying he's innocent or guilty. I'm saying make an educated decision based on what actually happened and not based on someone's interpretation of a Twitter post. They need to release the chat logs and evidence. There must be some kind of proof or screenshots of the full conversation. The whole situation is weird. Why did Twitch pay out his contract? Why has he been allowed to literally bash Twitch ever since the incident happened with no legal problems? And why was there no criminal charges? We don't know the full story. I assume that this was just another attractive female who was trying to seduce a popular millionaire streamer. It worked. Not surprising, but we don't know when her age was ever discussed with him. Maybe he ghosted her after finding out she wasn't 18. I'm about Doc's age, and I can't tell how old some of these girls are, and they're walking down the street, 16, 17, 18. Maybe he didn't know her age just by looking at her pics. I don't know. I'm still waiting for all the facts. So those people trying to like poke holes in people being like outraged or like stopping becoming fans of Dr. Disrespect is just reminds me of so much of this shit I've always seen. And like I said, you could just say these people, and it does seem for like a lot of them, there is suspicious intent about them trying to make themselves feel better about their own views about this stuff, that it actually isn't that bad to do that. That's one element. But a lot of it is kind of like, you know, I will agree it's terrible if we see more evidence, and you have to make an educated decision based on the evidence. And if everyone knew, why didn't everyone say something? And how come he was allowed to still say terrible things about Twitch? Like, didn't he sign something? And, you know, they know the answers are quite obvious. Like, if he had a contract, they paid him out, they terminated it, there's probably a lot of legal stuff signed around it, so no one could talk about it. Probably part of the settlement was him not letting them talk about it because he knows it would like kill his like whole career, right? There's loads of like very rational reasons why no one would have spoke about this until it came out now, right? And it's not all like a big conspiracy and he must actually be innocent, especially when he admitted it as well. And a lot of these comments come after he admitted to doing it. And in no point did his statement say, I didn't know how old they were lying, because he knows it will come out that he did know, because it has come out he did know. It came out today. He did know, right? And that, of course, is the main point, isn't it? If this guy was very innocent or he'd been catfished by someone who was 17, that's the first thing he would say. Of course it is. He put out a lengthy statement wrote by a lawyer saying, yeah, although technically I did this, this is why I did this. It was an accident. You know, I'm terrible for cheating on my wife or whatever, but I didn't know. This person tricked me. But that's not what happened, is it? Because he would have said that straight away. And that's what people need to realize sometimes. I know we're all so stupid these days. If someone doesn't come out defending themselves, guns blazing, or takes the time to write a proper statement and then talks about the legal action they will pursue to dispute these claims. But you see there, they're grasping at straws. And it reminds me about arguing with like Vaush fans about this when I called him a creep. That it's like, they will take anything. Oh my God, that drawing was of someone who was this age. And oh my God, he said this and he meant it like this. And it's just like, they're grasping at anything. Because like I said, for a lot of these people, they see Dr Disrespect, they see their favorite streamer, content creator as a friend. And they see it as someone you have to defend, and surely not. Surely the world is just out to get this guy, and he's been misinterpreted. Surely he was catfished. Surely it's Twitch trying to cancel him. Or you have the other people doing, you know, I have teenage daughters, and I don't actually think it's bad for 35-year-old men to be texting them at all. Not least millionaire streamers sending them, like, explicit messages. We're obviously all conditioned with, like, different morals, but I think the backlash to Dr. Disrespect being overwhelmingly negative shows that at least there are some things people generally agree on in the gaming community. It's just funny how slow they are to believe this stuff when it's pretty obvious. Like, sure, are there cases where stuff comes out and it's like more complicated and you shouldn't jump the gun? Yeah, of course. When there's certain stuff and then some guy puts out a statement like he did, and even the way he was tweeting about it before the statement, it's very easy to see like what happened, and you don't have to dispute with people like the severity of it. Like, oh my God, was she 15 or 16? Oh my God, was she 17 and a half or like 13? We must know these things because it makes so much difference. But does it really make so much difference? Once you get into technically it's not illegal, you're in bad territory. Ever find yourself thinking that, like grasping at straws to try and convince yourself your favorite streamer or YouTuber hasn't done anything wrong? You really have to look at yourself and look at your unhealthy relationship with celebrities who don't give a single shit about you. And they just don't. And I'll tell you that as a fact, and I'll tell you that brutally honestly as someone who's a content creator myself. I like the support. I like the nice interactions I've had with people. Do I care about every single random viewer and subscriber that I have, like on a personal level? No, of course I don't, because that's bad for me. Me getting super invested in all of you, over 100,000 people, would be bad for my health as well. So you have to have that distance. But of course, I can't stop people from getting really invested in me because I put myself out here as a public figure or whatever. And that's just the nature of being a content creator. But yeah, you should feel this way about content creators and realize your feelings towards them will never be reciprocated. So just don't get that invested. Like them for the content. Maybe think they could be a nice person. I know I think that about plenty of other people. And maybe think, you could maybe be friends. Think all that stuff. Yeah, sure. But realise you don't really know these people. Realise you have no insight into their real life. Realise as much as you think you've seen their real personality on things like live streaming, there is still an element of their real persona that isn't there. And it could be a really bad part of it, which then gets exposed later by people in the real world, leaving you shocked maybe, but then you shouldn't reactively defend them no matter what, because you look like a crazy person. Like I said, imagine pulling out these arguments that you've seen today, or pulling out arguments you've seen defending loads of other creators. Imagine explaining the situation to someone in real life and then saying this stuff to someone who isn't like invested in this community. Or imagine someone coming to you and saying this and asking your opinion, and imagining you saying, well, was she 17 or was she 15? Because I will say it's good or bad based on that one little point. Again, you wouldn't do that. Most people wouldn't do that. Maybe some of the people you've seen today would, because they seem like creeps, but most of you wouldn't. And that's the main point. So that is it for the video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching.